Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for bearing with us and rescheduling for tonight. Honestly, rescheduling helped me so much because I felt a little bit burned out yesterday. And I'm like, how can we even talk about avoiding burnout and, put this thing together when I'm feeling kind of burned out? So, I'm really excited to have Jessica Perry on. She is a high performance coach and she helps women to avoid burnout. And I'm not going to say too much. I'm going to let her take it away because she knows better than I do what she does. But welcome, Jessica. I'm so excited to have you on.
So thank you for having me. You know what? Yesterday was one of those moments where I had to decide, like, do I push through and go live and do the thing, or do I like listen to my body and rest? So that's something I'm
Mhm.
going to talk about tonight too. But that's so funny that you were also feeling burnt out yesterday, and sometimes you just got to say
Yeah.
no, and it's hard because we don't want to. We want to push through, right?
Right, and I'm one of these people, like, if I say I'm gonna be somewhere, I'll be there. If I say I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna do it, and so, for me, it's especially hard when, it's like, I scheduled to be live at a certain time, and "Ooh, I don't wanna cancel or reschedule," so, yeah, but it really ended up working out so much better. Today was a much easier day. I had my mom's help, which was awesome. So yeah, I'm really excited just to have you on, learn some new tips because we were talking backstage for a minute, guys, but I was telling Jessica about like my family life, and I have so many kids, and it's just really hectic. And she's like, "How do you do it?" And I'm like, honestly, I don't know. I take a lot of deep breaths, but I'm trying to have more tools, which is really why I created this group because I just want to keep learning and keep getting better. And I find other women that are like me that want to do the same thing. And, just put this group together so that we can keep learning and keep, doing better for ourselves and for our families. So, yeah, why don't you give us a couple tips on how you said that you were able to make more time for ourselves. And, that is something that all moms struggle with. So I can't wait to hear your tips.
Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you, first of all, for having me here. I love that you created this community because I was just talking with someone earlier today, and we're like, women just feel like they can't share the struggles that they're going through. Like, we want to seem like we have it all together. We want to have it all. We want to pretend like everything is okay. And, we're so programmed when people ask you, how are you? Hi, how are you? Your automatic response is like, I'm good. How are you? Like,
Mhm.
and so we all have like this facade of like everything's okay. And I'm a part of this group chat in one of my coaching programs that people are just really free with what they're saying. One girl was crying today. She was leaving a voicemail and she was crying because she was having a really rough day. And she's like, I can't, I feel like I can't talk to anybody else. Like, I'm so glad I have this outlet. And, we just got to talking. Like, women like to pretend like everything's okay when it's really not, because we see it as a sign of weakness. But it really is a sign of strength because you can openly talk about what you're struggling with. And not only does it help you to get it out because you're talking about it, but it also helps you to kind of like work through it yourself, but also get outside people to be like, yeah, I feel that way too. And you don't feel so alone. Like, one of the girls today was like, thank you for saying what you said. Like, I had a breakdown yesterday and I just felt like I was alone. She's like, everything you said in your message was exactly what I needed to hear because I feel the same way. So I think this group is awesome. So let me just start by saying that. Um, Let me give you a little bit of background about me. I've been in retail over 20 years, and for anybody who knows retail, you know it's exhausting. The hours are crazy. You're not good to yourself. You're not healthy. You overwork, you overeat, you don't go to the gym. Like, you're constantly just living to work, and
Oh
that
my
becomes
gosh.
part of your culture.
That is
It's
so
like,
crazy. So I have been in retail for almost 20 years too. And
wow.
I've switched gears with it a lot, but in my last position, I got to do freelance merchandising, which was like the best balance I had found in that line of work because you're right, you get overworked. And I've worked for companies like Forever 21 where they just
You're just a
expect
number,
the world.
right?
And oh my goodness. Yeah, you come home and like your whole body aches. It's hard.
Yeah, it's very physical, but it's also very mental because you just don't have a space to breathe. I mean, one day I was working 6, 7 days a week during Christmas one year. I worked, in a mall, in a jewelry store, and um I was working like 7 days a week one December, and I was just like, this is out of control, but I just kept doing it because I felt like that's my job, and this is just what we do. This is what retailers do, and if you don't know the retail industry, you're not, I mean, you're not missing anything because you either love it or you hate it. So if you haven't done it already, that means it's not for you probably. But I mean, I love retail. I love working with people. I love customer service. I love helping people. That's what I do. And so that's kind of how I got into coaching. I recognize that it's not that I love selling, I love helping people. So that's kind of how I got into coaching. But for 20 years, I abused myself. And I mean, let's just say over 10 years, because the past 10 years I've been a lot better to myself, but it's only because my working hours are shorter because we have less working hours. Like, this store is a boutique in the city, so I work less hours. But still, you don't know how to shut off. And
Mhm.
I remember one holiday season I was working, it's called Midnight Madness, in my old life when I worked retail in like one of the outlets. And I was just like, I worked 20 hours, like straight,
Mhm.
like not 10 p.m. one night until like 8 o'clock the next night. And I was just like wired because I had a cup of Skittles and a Red Bull at the register. So I would just like take a handful of Skittles and like chug the Red Bull. Like, how gross and unhealthy is that? Like, now I cringe thinking about it. But that's how I stayed awake and alive and got through the day. And then I would just go home and crash. So at a point in my life, and after I had my daughter, I kind of just like everything set into me. And I was like, is this really the life I want to live? Do I want to keep, living to work? Do I want to keep going through the motions in life and not really feeling passionate about what I'm doing? Um, and so I did slow down. And then, the pandemic forced us all to kind of take a pause. And for me, that was the opening I had to be like, this is my second chance at doing what I really want to do in life, at what I'm really passionate about. I have to find a way to merge my passion for helping people with having my own balance in my life. And that might not look the same for everybody. So it's like, how do you work with what you have to build out the life you want? So I'm not saying go and change your life. I'm not saying quit your job and get a new one. I'm saying you might love your job, but you've come to hate it because you don't have boundaries. Or maybe you've come to hate it because you overwork yourself and you don't, turn off when you go home, or you don't set aside time for yourself. So for me, whatever your situation is, a lot of my clients love their job. It's just that they just feel so pulled all over the place because they have kids and they have responsibilities, and then there's PTA, and then there's soccer and all the things. So how do you juggle everything, right? That becomes the struggle. So for me, it's and I have a coaching program. I have a freebie that I can send out to the audience here if you guys want to put in the comments below. Just put guide, and Janet, you can tag me in it, and I'll see it and I'll be able to send you guys the free guide. But it does give you some great tips in there, and I'll share some with you tonight. Um, Basically, you want to set boundaries. That's like the most important thing, is to kind of figure out what you're truly passionate about. Did you, when you became a mom, right? Did you lose yourself? Did you, like, everything you did as a single person once you got married and had kids, it kind of changed, right? Like, you stopped knowing who you were anymore. You're just like a mom now, right?
Mhm. Absolutely. Yeah, it completely changed.
So for me, it was like, well, what do I really love? If you just ask me what I love to do, or you ask me what I'm passionate about, or what are my hobbies, I would just be like, oh, well, I love to go shopping and I love makeup. And like, everything was surface, and it was like I was just going through the motions. But so taking a step back, having a morning routine for me is key, because I'm able to just sit there and say, okay, what am I grateful for today? And I have a list. I've written out a list of what I'm grateful for, and I review that in the morning every morning. Then I have a list of what I'm confident about, and what I love about myself, and what I love about my job, and what I love about, my life. And I read that. So keeping in that positive headspace first thing in the morning is going to be so key and crucial to setting the tone for the day, because anything that comes at you, you can handle if you have a rock solid mindset. So the constant personal development piece is huge for me. And I encourage everybody to, I mean, I listen to audiobooks on my way to work. I'll be doing the dishwasher and I'll have a podcast in my ear, in my headphones. Like, we need to learn how to multitask in a better way. For women, we like to multitask with everything we do. And that's the reason we get so overwhelmed, you know? And then it's like, well, how come nobody cleans up around here? How come you didn't do this? And how come you didn't do that? And then you take it all on yourself, but then you get upset with everybody else because you did it all, and my husband will be like, I didn't tell you to do that. I would have done it, but just let it sit there. I'm like, well, oh, okay. So I think a lot of the reason that we get overwhelmed is because we take on more than we can handle. And we're afraid to admit that it's not that we can't handle it, but it's going to make us crazy. So you have to draw the line somewhere, and finding that balance is not easy. So a couple of things I recommend is, one, developing a morning routine that makes you feel good. I used to pick up my phone as soon as I got up, and I would start reading my messages and start looking at TikToks or Facebook or whatever. And that puts your mind already into overwhelm, right? It's just a million things coming at you. So before you wake up, like when you wake up, don't use your phone for the first hour that you're awake. Have your coffee, read 10 pages of your book, go journal, meditate, write affirmations. Like there's all different things that you can do for self-development. And when I first started meditating, I was like, this is for crunchy hippie granola moms. Like, this is not for me. And, no judgment, but I just had the wrong idea of what meditation was until I got into it. And now it's like a safe place for me to just like let my mind go, because my mind never stops. So whatever you figure out works for you in the morning, that's the first thing that you want to do. Second thing is, make sure you're taking breaks throughout the day, whether it's to take a walk around the block at work, to go to the deli next door and get a coffee or a water, or you take 10 minutes on your lunch break and you walk a couple blocks. Like, get out of your environment. Make sure you have time to just like move your body, get the endorphins going, clear your mind. It's really helpful for a reset. Sometimes we think we just got to go because we want to be as productive as possible. But the more you go, the more you're going to start shutting down and slowing down, because it's just, you're not a workhorse. Like, you're meant to take breaks. It's also, I forgot the exact name of it, but it has something to do with the fact of like, if you go from one task to the next, your brain is still on the task that you just did. So while you might be in a new task, your brain is still on the previous one. So your brain is constantly going and constantly being distracted and constantly being challenged. So that's why you get fatigued more often. So taking breaks is crucial. Making sure you're feeding yourself properly. So many times as moms, especially as working moms, right? We high achieving working moms are the worst because we're high achievers. So we don't take breaks at work. We don't feed ourselves at work. And then we do the same thing when we're home. Well, I have to take care of the kids and I have to do the laundry and I have to help them with their homework. But your car is not going to keep moving unless you're putting fuel in it. Like, that's just the bottom line. So making sure you're taking care of your body and you're taking care of your health is going to make sure you take care of your mental health too. So eating nutritious foods, making sure that you're not skipping meals, making sure you always have snacks in your bag. Like, I keep these mini turkey sticks with me. So if I start to get hungry, I just eat one of them. Like, you don't realize that not eating properly really does have an effect on your productivity, but also your mental health. So that's another key tip that I've learned. And I lost over 30 pounds the second I quit my job that I was at, where I had unhealthy boundaries. Just by the way, do I struggle back and forth with it? Sure. We're women, right? We always kind of have something going on with our bodies, or wanting to look different or feel different. So just be kind to yourself. Like, realize that you are doing an amazing job, no matter how defeated you feel sometimes. You're setting your expectations of yourself way too unreasonably, because life happens and we're human and we're allowed to have downtime. So where are you scheduling downtime in your week? I had a client who was like, well, I don't know. I have to ask my husband. I said, well, your husband's not babysitting. He's watching his child. Don't feel guilty about asking for time to go out. Ask him, just say, listen, on Saturday when you're home from work, I'm going to make myself a hair appointment, or I'm going to go out with the girls, or whatever it is that you want planned. Just coordinate your schedule so that you're doing it. Like, I'll tell my husband, listen, I need your schedule for next week. What's your schedule for next week? And he'll send me a screenshot of his schedule for the following week. And I will look at it and tell him, okay, so on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I see you're only working until 6. So I'm going to need 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. to do my work. And I need to be in my office and uninterrupted. So now he knows when I say I have work to do, he's like, got you. I know I'm taking care of the baby and you do your thing, you know? So don't feel bad asking for things that you want. We feel guilty asking for things sometimes, right? Like, Janet, do you take time for yourself during the day?
Mm, not
And I don't
really.
mean to do work.
Yeah, because that's the thing, like not really. Um I'm nursing my baby, which with my other two, because this is my third time. With my other two, that time stressed me out because I felt like idle, I'm just sitting there and I felt unproductive and it really stressed me out. Well, now that I have an online business, I, use that time when I'm sitting with my baby to like catch up on messages or do something. So, I feel better because I'm staying productive, but I'm not like taking a break. You know what I mean? I'm still like doing two things technically. So that's probably the only time that I sit down during the day. And I really need to work on that, like figuring out how to take a break.
What do you do when the baby naps?
Well, I have other kids, so usually,
Right, that's true.
yeah. And like right now, my son started kindergarten, which is great. And then my 11-year-old stepdaughter is in school too. So now I'm just with my 4-year-old daughter and my baby girl, and they are on opposite schedules. So it's like the baby naps, and then I'm with McKenna, and then McKenna naps, and the baby's awake. So they're like, they're not on the same schedule yet. So I'm not having that downtime. But yeah, I can't wait till they can both, nap at the same
Mhm.
time. And then I can get a little bit of a break.
So what if when you're breastfeeding, you just breastfeed and that's it? How do you think that would feel?
I mean, once in a while I do that where I'm like, oh wow, I just spaced out. Like I didn't even
How
wake
enjoyable was that though? Like, right?
I mean, it is nice. I'll like put my feet up. I'm like, oh wow, this is great.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is, and you hit the nail on the head. We're so programmed to feel like I'm not being productive. I need to I come straight home. Like, first of all, let me just give you a background. I drive 2 hours to work in the morning, sometimes three, depending on the season. I work 6, 7 hours. Then I drive 2 hours straight to daycare to pick up my daughter, bring her home, feed her dinner, get her ready for bed. In the meantime, I'm doing the dishes, I'm doing the laundry, I'm doing the cat box, I'm feeding the dog. Like, I am nonstop go, go, go. And I'll come straight home, straight through the door, right to the sink. I've had to, it's daily work reminding yourself, I'll look at the sink and go, no, I don't have to do this right now. Why am I choosing to do it?
Hmm.
It's not, so we need to get better at prioritizing, okay? Make a list of things you have to do every day, brain dump it, get it out on a piece of paper so that you're not constantly running over it in your mind. Then what you're going to do is you're going to sift and sort what's urgent and priority and what is not. If I don't get it done today, is it life or death? Put that to the side. Those are the
Hmm.
things you can get done when you get done, right? Like the laundry's not the most important thing today, you know? But taking my supplements is because I want to stay healthy. Like, I'm just giving you examples,
Hmm.
but like there's two separate sides of the fence. Like what's super urgent and must get done today and what are my non-negotiables and what can get done another time.
Yeah,
Because as women,
absolutely.
we tend to just run through the list and like just check, 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 check. What else do I have to do? What else can I do? Where else can I find 5 minutes to shove another task on my plate, you know?
Exactly. Well, plus, like, we see a mess and then it is urgent. Like, for me, like, if I see the sink, that is urgent. So it's funny that you said, like, make a list and prioritize because I started doing that this week and it has helped so much. And I will write like 2 or 3 cleaning tasks and that's it. And it's not dishes. One day it's laundry, one day it's just vacuuming the entry rugs. It's just putting a couple of those tasks and then, like, as I'm walking by, and I'm one of those people, I have to write it out. I can't just type it in my phone. Like I need to physically write it on a sheet of paper. But then, then I can keep my mind on that. And, in between juggling my kids and all the everything, I can get those couple of things done. And it helps so much. And I do feel productive and I am able to walk past a mess that normally I can't. And I deal with anxiety. So sometimes like these messes, like, they bothered me so much. Like, I can't sit down and watch TV until the dishes are done. I can't, it's like I feel like I can't enjoy myself until this other thing is done. So I'm like constantly struggling with that, and I'm getting better. I'm getting so much better at being able to like walk away from a mess, or just know, you know what, I'm going to clean the bathroom tomorrow. So I'm not going to stress about that right now.
Hmm. And that's the thing, is you just got to work daily at it and you get better and better. And the more self-awareness is so key. And this is what a lot of people don't realize. Like, when you think you're self-aware, you're not fully self-aware. There's always room for improvement. There's always room to grow. So every time I like have something pop up, I'm like, why is this making me feel this way? So next time that something happens where you're feeling super anxious, address it. Okay, let me stop and think. Before I just run in and do the task, let me think, why is this making me so anxious? For me, I'm so anal. Like I'll come home and I'll go straight to the sink, and if it's filled, I'm like spinning. I'm like, "Oh my God, I got to clean this. It's urgent." My brain goes automatically there. But then I have to stop and look at it and I go, "Okay, why is this urgent? Why does it bother me so much? Why does it bother you so much?" Just
Yeah.
because because you feel like you need to do it, because
Yeah, and
that's
it
your
just yeah,
job.
it just, like, feels, like, dirty, like, especially if there's food stuff,
Well,
but
that's different.
sometimes
No,
I'll look
everybody in
and
my
be like,
house gets a
"Well,"
lecture on.
I'll be like, "Well, it's rinsed," stuff is rinsed off, and then I'll walk away and be like, "It's okay,"
Yes.
like, I have to, like, talk myself down, like, because otherwise, and then I'm huffing and puffing at the sink, and I'm pissed off, and then I'm
Yep.
like, I'm the only one that does the dishes, which is not even true, but,
Right.
it's like I just get frustrated about
You're
it.
the only one that has the urgency behind it, is the
Yes.
problem. Because I do the same thing, and my husband's like, "I do the dishes too." I'm like, "But not urgently, not as soon as they're in the sink," and it's like, we're just creating resentment with ourselves for being the person that's like constantly taking on every project and not communicating our needs to other people, and we're
Mhm.
resentful of the people around us for not automatically knowing that they should be doing that urgently, and we assume that their priorities are our priorities. So maybe it's our priorities that are messed up because we feel the responsibility because we're the mom and we're the woman of the house. Like, it's constant work. Like I said, you're doing an amazing job. You're recognizing that it's a problem. You're looking at it and you're saying like, okay, let me walk away from this now. You're compromising. It's a
Mhm.
muscle that you build, and you constantly have to work on being self-aware. Like when things come up like, oh, I'm super jealous of whatever. Why am I super jealous of that person? Do they have something I want? Did they do something that bothers me? Like, whatever your emotion is that comes up during something that happens, you're okay to feel it. You're validated to feel it, but address why you feel that way, because it might bring you back to the root cause of it, which then you can address the root cause of it. And moving forward, you won't feel those emotions so frequently when those situations arise. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah,
So, like,
definitely. I
yeah.
mean,
So, like, the dishes.
even asking myself that, it's like, well, I haven't asked myself that question. I'm gonna start and just, see if that helps, because I am starting to be able to process that and, like, walk away from a mess and just know that that's not my priority today.
Right. So, and that's when I started asking myself, why does this bother me? Why am I feeling like this? What are my triggers? When you know what triggers you, you're able to either A, walk away from them because you can talk yourself down for them. B, you can eliminate them from your life. If there's someone that bothers you on your Facebook feed, every time you see a post, you get jealous or angry or mad. Stop following them. Block
Mhm.
them, delete them. Just don't look, hide it, mute it, whatever you need to do. Like, don't keep things around you that don't serve you. And it could be friendships, it could be family. And I hate saying that because so many people struggle with that because they're like, but they're family. Yes, but if they're toxic for your life and your well being and they're not moving your life in a forward direction, you have to make those decisions. Those are important decisions for you to make. Like, what is serving me and what is not? What energy do I want around me and which energy do I not? Am I surrounding myself with people that are constantly complaining, that are constantly in that negative mindset, in that victim mentality? That's going to rub off on you, and you're going to be angry and complaining and resentful, and you're going to be like, why am I even acting like this? I don't feel that way. But it's just the energy that's around you starts like seeping into you. So it's a mixture of things. I mean, you really have to be self-aware. That's like the biggest thing. Be self-aware, Ask yourself why you feel the way you feel and try and get to the root issue of things. Make a list of all the things you need to do and sift and sort priority and not priority. Put things in your schedule. Like, write down, I'm going to mop the floor from 10:30 to 11. Like, when you schedule things out, even like rest time, like from 7 to 8, I'm watching my show and I'm just going to put my feet up and not talk to anybody and just enjoy myself. Like, schedule out your breaks if you need to. Like, find a system that works for you. I'm not amazing at scheduling out all of my stuff, but that's okay. I understand that that's not how my brain works all the time. And I am okay with rolling with the punches. Like last night, I got so nauseous out of nowhere. And I was like, oh man, I have to cancel the live. Like, this is really, I hate doing that. I'm like you. I'm like, if I say I'm going to be somewhere, I want to be there. But I learned a long time ago, I used to never call out sick. I used to feel guilty calling out sick, or, that's another thing women struggle with too. Like, we feel guilty for calling out sick. Why? You have sick days for a reason. So now my mentality is, you know what? I'm more important than that. Like, your job is not life or death. Your health is life or death. So like, whenever I don't feel well, I know it's my body telling me to relax or to take a break or to just sleep. Like, I had so much work planned for last night and the live we were going to do. And I just felt like, oh God, I'm like not being productive right now. And I have so much to do. And then it was like an internal argument. And I was like, no, but it's okay. You need the rest. You need to sleep. Your body's telling you to stop. So go to sleep and just relax. And that's what I did. And I felt great this morning when I woke up. So listening to your body, listening to your gut, learning to trust yourself, learning to delegate things out. I'll text my husband and be like, hey, I just left for work. Because he'll still be sleeping sometimes. I'm like, just left for work. I did this, this, and this. Can you please do this, this, and this before you leave today? Like, or I'll leave him a note that says, like, here are the things that need to get done today. And he can just put a whole list and he'll check off what he can do. And I'll say, whatever you don't do, I'll get done later. But ask. Don't just take
Yeah.
everything on yourself. Ask. And you're not asking for permission. You're just saying, this is what needs to get done. Can you do this, and this? I'm going to do this, this, and this. You're just delegating. It's not asking. When you need some alone time, I'll tell my husband, listen, I'm going to go like hang with my friend for dinner. Is that cool? Like, are you cool with that? He's like, you don't have to ask me. I'm like, I'm not asking you. I'm just like giving you the courtesy of making sure you're okay to take care of the baby. I'm not asking him to babysit. He's not a babysitter. He's my husband. He's the baby's father. That's part of the gig, right? Like, that's part of your responsibility. So when people say like, I have to ask my husband if he could babysit, I'm like, no, you don't. Like, set some
It doesn't work like
boundaries. Right.
that.
Right. You're not the only one responsible. Like, we just assume that we are because we're the mom. Does any of that sound like things that you could work on?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely just need to figure out how to plan time for myself. When I'm feeling anxious, I need to ask myself, why, and figure out what some of those triggers are. I know some of it is with my kids too, and like their behavior will stress me out, and my son's behavior. So I know that's a whole different topic, but I've come up with like different tools and ways to kind of manage that because I can't let him like upset me either and
Right.
feel burned out, so it's like there's so many things that can burn us out as moms, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, but I mean, really, like, I could think through some more, like, on what my triggers are, and work through that for sure.
I think that's super important. And like, I have my daughter's the same age as your son, right? He's 4, you said?
My daughter's 4,
Your daughter's
almost
4.
4.
So my
Mhm.
daughter's the same age. She'll be 4 next month. And she went through the terrible twos at 18 months. And then she went straight into the teenager stage. And now she's like super emotional and like, you're not my best friend anymore. Right? Because I told her something the other night. She's like, you're not my best friend anymore. And I was like, and then I started tearing up and I was like, don't say that to me. Uh, you know, when we get in those emotional states, we're reflecting back to the kids what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? So when they can feel if we're stressed, they can feel if we say something that doesn't sit right with them. They understand that they're pushing our buttons and that's what they're looking for ultimately. And they're also very susceptible to taking on our behaviors too. So that's why I'm like extra cautious. Like, I don't want to use the word anxiety around my daughter. My husband will be like, "Oh, you're giving me such anxiety." I'm like, "Don't say that because that's going to give her a complex or make her understand what anxiety is and focus on that." Like, I'm very careful with the words I use, and I'm I've flown off the handle before. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of times I have to just talk to myself and be like, "Okay, I'm gonna walk away for right now, or I'm gonna go in the bathroom and just hide for 5 minutes, like, or I need to take a walk." Like sometimes she'll follow me around the house all the time and like not leave me alone for a second. So I'll just look at her and be like, "Listen, mommy needs alone time for 5 minutes. I'm gonna go in the bathroom by myself. I'm gonna sit you here with your lollipop. I'll be right back, okay? Mommy needs to sit alone for a few minutes because mommy sometimes gets very overwhelmed and it's a lot going on. So mommy needs to rest. Do you understand?" Like, I'll try and rationalize with her because she understands that. She'll look at me and go, "Okay, mom." Like, when you freak out and when you have the anxiety and you act chaotic, like that's how they respond. But I'm finding the more I like just speak calmly and try to explain it to her and then ask her if she understands, she's much more likely to let me go. If she just sees me trying to run away from her and lock the door quickly behind me, she gets pissed and starts
Oh, they'll
banging
start
on it.
banging. Yeah.
Right. But if I explain it, she'll be like, "Okay, mommy," you know? So I think
Hmm.
it's just not losing your cool, being able to just, and that's not something I've always been amazing at because I struggle with anxiety too. And when you're in the moment, it's hard. You can't, like when people used to tell me, "Well, just relax or just calm down or take it easy." You're like, it's not that simple because if it was, I would have done it 10 minutes ago, you know? So knowing your triggers, avoiding them, or knowing how to handle them is key, especially in those types of situations. And if you're not giving yourself time to breathe every single day, at least some point, and then once a week giving yourself an hour or two to just like veg or go get your nails done and go shopping, or even just going to the grocery store by yourself is like a vacation in my opinion.
Hmm.
So whatever you can do to give yourself that space is going to make the world of difference for you and your entire family because you're going to be a much happier person and much more pleasant to be around, and people are going to want to help out more. And that's just, it just kind of all, unfortunately, it all revolves around how we handle things.
Hmm.
It trickles to
Yeah.
everybody else, you know?
Yeah, definitely. And I do like I do try to, do the grocery shopping as long as there's not a ton of heavy stuff. Sometimes my husband will just grab like cases of water during the week and then I'm like, "Fine,
Right.
I'll hit the rest of the list." But it's like I realize with my anxiety, like, and we have a big family, so it's like a haul. And it's like I'll realize that I can go early on Sunday morning or early on Saturday morning, but if I wait too late in the day, it just like makes me more anxious, and then it doesn't feel like a little break. But
Right.
but
'Cause it's
every
too
weekend,
crowded.
yeah, every weekend I try to leave, get out of the house, go do something.
Even if it's just to like go sit at the park. I mean, like I'll get up early and I'll be like, "Everyone's still sleeping," and I'll feel bad for a second. Like, should I tell anybody I'm leaving? And then I'm like, "No." And I put my headphones on. I text my husband, went for a walk, and I go walk to the bagel store. I get bagels for everybody, not myself, because I'm not trying to eat carbs right now. Um, but occasionally I will treat myself. But I walk there, I walk back. I'm listening to my music. I'm listening to a podcast. I'm breathing in the fresh air, enjoying the sunshine. Like just getting out of your environment for half an hour, even it is makes such a difference in life. And like you go grocery shopping, right? Like make it a luxurious experience. Like go get a nice coffee or make your coffee before you go and like sip it as you're walking around. Be leisurely about it. Like when I'm frantically grocery shopping, and especially if I have my 4-year-old with me, I'm like, let's get in and get out. And like any little setback is like, it makes me anxious. And then I'll sit there and go, why am I so anxious to get home? It's only 7 o'clock at night. And yeah, I worked the whole day and I went straight from daycare to the supermarket, but like, what's it hurting me to walk around leisurely? Why am I rushing? I was listening to this book and it's called because I had some parenting things I was like trying to figure out when she was in her terrible twos. And I was like, I need a book that I can like listen to or read. And it was like how to talk so little kids will listen. And she was
Yes,
like,
I need to read that.
it's so good. It's so good. I'm only like part of the way through it, so clearly I have a lot more to read up on and like figure out. But she says a lot of amazing things in it. And one of the things that really blew my mind was like, your kids don't understand time. So you're rushing them around and you're like, how come it takes you so long to get ready? And I'm in a rush. They don't feel like that. They're just enjoying life. They're not tainted yet. They're not like in the real world experiencing things yet. Like they're just like loving life and chilling out. And so when we rush them, it puts them in that chaotic mental state. So sometimes I have to pull myself back and be like, why am I rushing her to hurry up? Why did I tell her I'll take her with me shopping and then I'm trying to rush her and hurry her up? Like that's not an enjoyable experience for her. Like why can't I just relax? Why am I in such a rush? We're just programmed, and so we
Mhm.
have to think about how long you've been alive, right? For me, it's 42 years, 41.99 because I'll be 42 in November. But so I've been alive that long. And my mindset started changing around 38, 39. So it's fairly new that I've reprogrammed myself to be, you know, in a more balanced state, let's say. How long it took me to program myself is how long it's going to take me to unprogram myself. Like it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to take me 40 years to unprogram myself or reprogram myself, but it's also not going to happen overnight. You know what I'm saying? So we have to give ourselves grace. We have to work on just being 1% better every day. You're 1% better every day. You're making progress, and that's really all that matters is just as long as you're making progress every day and you're focusing on the most important things in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's such a good point about how kids are not rushed. And just recently, like within the last week, I have given myself more grace with dinner and what time I have it ready. And, I'm trying to cook. I have two picky eaters. My husband doesn't get home till 8 o'clock, so he's not even eating with us. He just warms it up later. So it's stressful. I have a baby. I have kids that don't even eat what I cook. So I feel guilty about even cooking dinner sometimes. And lately I've been less stressed about what time I get food on the table. And it's like, I don't even know why I'm beating myself up. My kids come home from school and they eat a snack. They're not starving. Why am I so like hard on myself if dinner's on the table closer to 7 than, at 5:30 or something? It's like,
Because society tells us dinner time's at 5:30, or you know what I mean? Like we just have this like set standard of what I'm in retail. Like sometimes I don't eat dinner till 8:30 at night. And like I've given my daughter, both of my kids, dinner at like 8 o'clock at night. And I felt guilty about it. But then I realized, well, whose timeline am I on?
right. And they're
Who
okay.
says that your rules are the same as my rules? Like we have this misconception, like growing up is like, well, you wake up at 7 o'clock and you get ready and you go to school or work and then you come home and you have a small snack until dinner's ready at 5:30 and then you brush your teeth and you go to bed and who says you have to have that routine? You make up what you want for your own life. The reason everybody's so miserable is because we're following the same set of rules and it doesn't apply to us. Like we want to live our lives casually instead of being so regimented. And we just have been like programmed to just operate in such a way where it's one thing after the next, after the next, after the next. And we don't stop and enjoy life. I mean, sometimes the other day I went to the carnival with my daughter and I was like, I'm unplugging. Like, I'm not pulling my phone. Normally I'll be like this, like pulling out my phone every so often, check my messages, who's emailing me, who's it. Why does that matter? I'm out on a Saturday with my daughter. She loves the carnival. She loves cotton candy. She gets a thrill out of the rides. I was like, I am putting my phone in my bag and I'm gonna be fully present. And I made such a point of it. And I just sat there and just was smiling, watching her go on the rides and eating the cotton candy. And I was just like so leisurely. I was not on a time frame. I let go of all the expectations of myself and of planning out everything. And I had the best time. And so did my kids. And it was just like, who cares what time I get home? Who cares if they eat cotton candy? My daughter will ask for ice cream before dinner and I'll give it to her. She's like, I promise I'll eat dinner, mom. I'm like, okay. As long as you eat dinner, I don't care if you have ice cream before dinner. Who says that's not okay?
Yeah,
Right?
I
Like
mean,
I've
I
eaten
gave my
pizzas for
kids
breakfast
popsicles.
before.
Yeah.
What?
I said I gave my kids popsicles yesterday before dinner. I actually did it 2 days in a row and it helped their behavior and I was able to like get through it without
Right.
being super stressed out. And
Sometimes you got to just do what you got to do as a mom to feel less pressure. What
Mhm.
is being so upset about giving them an ice pop before dinner going to do for you? It's going to just raise your anxiety levels. It's going to raise their anxiety levels. You're both going to be miserable. You're probably going to give in anyway. And you had an argument for no reason. And now you're pissed because you gave in, even though you set the rule. So now you look less credible. So it's just like, it's this constant like mind game that we're playing with ourselves of like, well, what's the big deal if she has it? You
Yeah,
promise you're going to eat your dinner? Okay. Then
yeah.
have the ice cream. It's fine. You know?
I mean, and my kids are terrible eaters, so I was like, "This is pretty risky. I don't know if this is a great idea." But, it's like, what am I gonna do? I wasn't gonna fight with them. My son
Right.
gets off the bus and he's so flush, he's just overheating. It's like I just
Yeah.
need
I
him
mean,
to feel better and not I mean, he's so worked up, like, he, I know he gets overstimulated and, he's 5, but he still gets super frustrated all the time, and he's super defiant, and it's challenging. And him, being tired, stimulated, and, like, overheating when he gets home from school has been the worst mix lately.
it's a lot, in the summer. It's like it really is the worst when they get in that state of like being inconsolable. So if it makes him feel better to have an ice pop, have the ice pop. I say. I mean, my daughter is a very picky eater, and sometimes one day she'll eat like nonstop from the time she wakes up until the time she goes to sleep, and then other days she picks like a bird, and that's it. My husband used to get like, "What do you want for dinner? Do you want to eat this?" And he used to give her something, and she wouldn't eat it. He's like, "All right, I'll make you this," and then he'd make like 5 different things, and she still wouldn't eat any of it. And he'd be stressed out. I'm like, she doesn't want to eat. She doesn't have any problems, but if she wants to eat, she'll eat. If she doesn't, she doesn't. It's a balance. Some
Mhm.
days I eat more than other days, and some days I'm just like not in the mood. It's like we just assume because they're kids and we have control over their schedules and what they're eating, we feel responsible. Like we have, but they're just like us. If they want to eat more some days than others, it's okay. Like letting go of the expectations of yourself and of the timelines on things is like the biggest revelation for me was like, okay, I don't have to have a timeline on things. I don't have to plan everything out, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like it is such a balance though, because I know that for myself, like with staying organized and being productive, I do need to plan things out, but then I need to like if things aren't working out or going the way that they need to, I need to relax a little bit. So I'm like
Yes.
finding this balance, like going back and forth, like really what is important. And maybe that is how I manage all these kids and just all this chaos that I'm dealing with because it's like there is this constant give and take. And I'm trying not to be too hard on myself if, something doesn't get done or I miss a deadline or whatever it is that's like, that seemed urgent at the time.
And that's all you can do. I mean, learning to pivot in the moment is the best thing you can do. You can only plan things out so much. Sometimes things are just not going to go your way. So do you just allow yourself to get frustrated and feel defeated, or do you say, "Okay, well that sucked, but what can I do about it now?"
Yeah, that
We
one.
can't. There's only so many things that. I mean, there's only things that you can't control everything. You can only control your actions. You can't control the results. When you start really embracing that is when things open up for you because then you're like, okay, well, I mean, the dog pooped on the floor. What am I going to do? Get mad at the dog? I mean, I could, but then who's that serving? You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it just feels like everything's piled on top of us sometimes, but it's all about how we choose to react to those situations. Like if I get mad at it, it's going to give me more anxiety and then it's going to be a negative for me and it's just going to add and build up all day. If I just
Mhm.
say, all right, well, she pooped, I'm going to clean it and flush it and that's it and move
Yeah,
on.
exactly.
It's like just allowing your, I used to say, I have a phrase. It's like, I feel stressed when I'm not stressed because I feel like something's wrong if I'm not stressed out. That's sick. That is like, it almost like it feels like almost too easy some days. I think we feel like if it feels too easy, then we're doing something wrong. And that's the complete we need to train ourselves that that's how it's supposed to feel. It's supposed to feel good. It's supposed to feel
Mhm.
enjoyable. You're supposed to have a smooth life. If things come up that feel, I mean, yeah, there's going to be some moments that like are really crappy in life and you can't control them. And maybe some things you can, but mistakes happen and you can't beat yourself up forever over it. So learning how to pivot is huge.
Yeah, and having grace in those situations, like, it's like, yeah, like how you handle a situation. Like you just if you have grace through it like that, it just builds character and it's just so much more positive than, getting worked up over it. It's funny what you said about like how you're stressed when you're not stressed. And I kind of feel like my husband feels like that a little bit because like I used to be pretty high strung when I was still working through my anxiety. Like it came on really bad after I had McKenna, and she's almost 4. So I've been dealing with it and managing it for the last almost 4 years.
Wow.
And so I'm getting better, and I do like balance supplements and medication to find that balance. But when I found out that I was pregnant with Kaylee, I was just in denial, honestly, because I wasn't trying to have a baby at 40. I was just like, this is not at all what I'm trying to do. I'm already overwhelmed with my 2 littles. And I felt like I was going to be overwhelmed with stress. And I really just like midway through my pregnancy, just decided that I'm not going to be stressed. I'm going to be happy and healthy. And I'm not going to be upset like I was after McKenna, and I really have been able to do it and stay calm. And there are some days that it like freaks my husband out where he's like, you're too calm, and I'm looking at the situation like, I'm doing great. Like my husband thinks I'm too calm. Like I've had like 3 people tell me in the last month that I'm even keeled. I'm like, that is not how anyone describes me, as even keeled. Like, it's funny like how I'm making these changes and like able to stay calm in these situations and not be stressed all the time. And everyone else they'll adjust to it. My husband will adjust to it.
That's right. That's it. It's you have to follow your instincts and everybody else will figure it out. And if they can't, then that's their problem. That's not yours. And they need to probably work on something. But that's what I'm learning is like, I'm not going to apologize for who I am. I make mistakes just like everybody else. I used to feel like at work, I used to never, like, I used to have such control that I would take on everything myself because I didn't want any mistakes to be made because I didn't want the bosses to look and be like, oh, Jessica made a mistake or someone on her team made a mistake. Like, I'd rather do everything myself to make it look like we're perfect. And I realized, like, well, I'm just stressing myself out and overworking myself. And now when I'm like, well, this made, oh, okay. Oops. I guess that's the past us. We'll do better next time. Now I'm just like, why do I take it so personally? Why do I think I'm a bad person or that I'm not worthy or like I'm internalizing a mistake as like you're not good or you're not responsible or you suck at your job or we internalize things. We give things a positive or a negative charge. Something happens, we decide, is it bad? Is it good? I mean, granted, if you have a tragedy in life, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about like for the most part, when things arise, like a mistake happens at work, I could totally beat myself up and be like, I can't believe I did that. Why did I do that? Or I could just be like, okay, and like shrug it off, like zero meaning. I'm neutral about it. So if you can be more neutral about things that come up and just accept that they're coming up and deal with it, then the less you react in a negative way, the less negative you'll feel as things start coming up more and more. Does that
Mhm.
make sense?
Yeah, because you have to like condition that. You have to like basically, yeah, condition your response to it. Like,
Hmm.
just figure out how you're going to take it on. Okay, well, I'm not going to get upset over that. That's not going to serve me or the situation. I mean, that's how I've been approaching all of this. I mean, it gets really stressful. I have had moments where all 3 of my kids are screaming, crying at the same time. Like, what am I supposed to do? Well, I'm not going to let that stress me out. I'm just going to help each one, by who's the biggest priority.
Right. Who's the most serious to take care
Yeah.
of right now? Who's crying
Is
for a real
someone
reason?
bleeding? Do we have an injury?
Right,
Like,
right. And that's a good point. Like my daughter, she might be hysterical, and I used to fawn all over it and be like, "Oh my God, are you okay? What's the matter?" Now I'm like, "Okay, I don't really think that this is life or death or urgent, so I'm just gonna walk away." And I go, when you're done and ready to talk to mommy, I'll be inside.
Yes, and I do that I have to do that with my son.
And I'll hear her still crying, and I'm like, "Oh my god, this poor thing." And I'm like, "No, no, it's okay. It's not life or death. She's going through it, and that's okay. But that's her, that's not me, and there's nothing I can do about it right now." And slowly but surely, I'll hear her start calming down, and she'll come and be like, "Mommy, I love you. Can we go get ice cream?" And I'm like, "Okay." Good thing I walked away and didn't like drive myself nuts over that. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So you got to figure out just your triggers, figure out ways around it, figure out how to pivot. I mean, and that's what I do with a lot of my coaching too, is like, let's go in depth into your world. What does it look like? What can we eliminate? Where can we find time? Accountability is huge. So if you have an accountability partner or a coach or a therapist, like I highly encourage everybody to get a coach, a mentor, a therapist, like somebody to hold you accountable for being able to voice how you feel and voice your overwhelm and voice your opinions and get help with sorting everything out, because having someone have an outside perspective on what's right in front of you that you might not see because you're in it every day is
Mhm.
priceless. Like really, I will
Oh,
always have a
absolutely.
coach.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, even with me, like, dealing with my anxiety, um, we had already had a family counselor, and I didn't talk to her yet. Like, now she talks to everybody, our whole family, but, we found her when my husband was, going through trying to figure out the visitation with his second daughter and his ex, and so there was some mediation involved, and we needed a family counselor, so, we found this woman, and she is awesome. But, she's not a psychiatrist, so she can't prescribe medication. So with me dealing with my anxiety, like, I went and saw her, and then I still needed to go see my primary care doctor, and she's awesome too. So I'm like, I have found this like really cool team of ladies that are helping me to just like gain that perspective and, just help me work through things. I'm so thankful for who I've been connected with and who was able to help me, cuz I mean, it was rough. It was so rough. And I didn't start to get help with that until McKenna was a year old. So I dealt with it for a full year.
Yeah,
I
we
kept
suffer.
thinking,
Suffering in silence is not, just something that we just assume is we just have to suffer with it.
well, and it's like it's called postpartum depression or
Right.
postpartum anxiety. You think that it's just going to melt away magically, 6 months, even 8 months. And it's like I just kept thinking it was just going to disappear. And it just didn't.
Yeah.
We
Well,
also
thank
had the
God you got help
pandemic
and you
and
you figured it out.
yeah, I mean, and it's like it put me in a really rough place because I was in such a negative place. I couldn't even reach out for help myself. So I had to have like my husband call our counselor. I needed help making the doctor's appointment. Like I couldn't, I was just in
Mm,
that negative of a place where I couldn't do it myself. But yeah, but I did stop and I did ask for that help. And I think that that's the most important thing is
mhm.
like, just I'm going like, I know I need help, but you're going to have to help me get help. Like I can't even do it.
Right. Right. No, I mean, communicating something like that is huge. Like you should be very proud of yourself that you were able to even say that, because that for some people they would rather just continue to suffer than say anything to anybody.
Yeah, that's really true. And I'm in some moms groups and I see it. And I actually had to comment on somebody's post today, like in the same similar situation. And I just said, like, if you need help getting help, like please message me. And I will, like I had to ask for help when I was in your shoes and reach out to me and I will help you,
I
like
love that. Yeah, letting people know that there's someone there, even though they don't know you that well. It's
mhm,
huge. And that's what I love about this online community, really, is like we're just all, and I keep saying us women, because I feel like we need more of a support group. We need to start building each other up instead of being jealous of each other or tearing each other down or being judgmental, because we're all going through the same stuff. Some people
mhm,
just don't show it at all. So you think their life is perfect, and it's really not. So,
yeah,
you just never know what's going on in someone's world, and just being open to seeing it and being in tune with what's going on in your own world and your intuition. And I mean, just really self-awareness in all areas is key.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing all your tips. I mean, this is good. It was such good perspective. And
Thank you. It
um,
was so much fun. I love doing
yeah,
these things.
yeah, this is great. So make sure that you share, like, I know you have a Facebook group, so share that in the comments and, how people can connect with you.
I absolutely will. So my coaching program is called Burnout to Bliss. That's the same as my Facebook group. So if you just look up Burnout to Bliss, you'll find me, but I'll drop the link in here after we hop off.
Yeah, definitely do that. Well, thank you so much for being on. This
Thank
is great.
you.